Good morning, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you for joining me. Today is January the 23rd, 2023. I have several news updates to share with you. So today I will start with a big news circulating in different social media today about the Ethiopian Orthodox Church splitting, or maybe a coup in Ethiopian Orthodox Church. So that's the breaking news today. So I will start with that one and proceed with Prime Minister of Ethiopia uh, confirming the readiness of the Ethiopian military for another conflict, another war. So that will be second. Then I will continue with other news. Thank you again for joining me. Let's get started with this one. This is very uh, uh, controversial, very serious matter in Ethiopian Orthodox Church. So a group of priests challenging the status quo and demanding more freedom in their religious practice. So that's the challenge in Orthodox Church, and the status quo is also challenging uh, this this move very seriously. So let's listen in Amharic. This is in Amharic, but in general, is the rough translation is a coup or a split in Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Uh, with those complaining not equal freedom for priests living or speaking another language, especially Oromo language. So let's listen to the announcement by Orthodox TV and continue with the news. Thank you again. Here we go.
የተሰጠ አስቸኳይ መግለጫውን የሰጡት ብፁዕ ወቅዱስ አቡነ ማትያስ ቀዳማዊ ፓትርያርክ ርዕሰ ሊቃነ ጳጳሳት ዘኢትዮጵያ ሊቀ ጳጳስ ዘአክሱም ወዕጨጌ ዘመንበረ ተክለ ሃይማኖት ብፁዕ አቡነ አብርሃም የጠቅላይ ቤተ ክህነት ዋና ስራ አስኪያጅና የባህር ዳር ሀገረ ስብከት ሊቀ ጳጳስ በመንበረ ፓትርያርክ የተገኙ ብፁዓን አበው ሊቃነ ጳጳሳት ናቸው። ቅዱስነታቸው ዛሬ ማለዳ በተሰማው ሲመተ ጳጳሳት ጉዳይ በሰጡት መግለጫ ጉዳዩ ከቅዱስ ሲኖዶስ እውቅና ውጭ በሕገ ወጥነት የተከናወነ መሆኑን በመግለጽ ከሀገር ውስጥና ከሀገር ውጭ ያሉ ሊቃነ ጳጳሳት በአስቸኳይ ወደ መንበረ ፓትርያርክ እንዲመጡ ጥሪ ቀርበዋል። ሁለተኛ መንግስት ክስተቱ በሀገር ላይ ጭምር የሚያስከትለውን ጉዳት ተመልክቶ በጉዳዩ ላይ ሕጋዊ ኃላፊነቱን እንዲወጣ ጥሪ ቀርበዋል። ሶስተኛ ምዕመናን በቤተ ክርስቲያንን ከመቼውም ጊዜ በላይ በንቃት እንዲጠብቁ ቅዱስነታቸው ጥሪ አቅርበዋል። ተዋህዶ ሚዲያ ማዕከል ተሚማ እንደዘገበው በብፁዕ አባ ሳዊሮስ የሚመራው ህገወጥ ቡድን በወሊሶ በዓለ ወልድ ቤተክርስቲያን ከፍተኛ የዶግማ እና ቀኖና ጥሰት በመፈጸም ህገወጥ ጳጳሳትን መሾሙ ተገለጸ። ጥር 14 ቀን 2015 ዓ.ም በብፁዕ አባ ሳዊሮስ የሚመራው ህገወጥ ቡድን በወሊሶ በዓለ ወልድ ቤተክርስቲያን ከፍተኛ የዶግማ እና ቀኖና ጥሰት በመፈጸም ህገወጥ ጳጳሳትን መሾሙ ተገለጸ። ለህገወጥ ሹመቱ ተባባሪ የሆኑ ሊቃነ ጳጳሳት ብፁዕ አባ ጢሞቴዎስ እና ብፁዕ አባ ዜና ማርቆስ ጭምር መሆናቸው ነው የተገለጸው። ተሚማ በምስልና በድምጽ የተደገፈ ያገኘውን ማስረጃ ያጣራ ሲሆን ሲመቱን የፈጸሙት ብፁዕ አባ ሳዊሮስ በተግባር ቀደምትነት ራሳቸውን ፓትርያርክ አድርጎ በመሾም ጭምር እንደመሩት ለማረጋገጥ ተችሏል። በሌላ ዜና ደግሞ አስቸኳይ የቅዱስ ሲኖዶስ ምልዓተ ጉባኤ ተጠራ። የኢትዮጵያ ኦርቶዶክስ ተዋሕዶ ቤተክርስቲያን ቅዱስ ሲኖዶስ በወቅታዊ ጉዳይ ላይ ቅዱስ ሲኖዶስ መግለጫ ሰጥቷል። ቅዱስ ሲኖዶስ በአገር ውስጥ እና በውጭ ሀገር ያሉ ሁሉም ሊቃነ ጳጳሳት በአስቸኳይ ከነገ ጀምሮ ለአስቸኳይ ስብሰባ እንዲመጡ አሳስቧል። መንግስትም በተፈጠረው ችግር አስፈላጊውን ጥበቃ እንዲያደርግ እንዲሁም የኢትዮጵያ ኦርቶዶክስ ተዋሕዶ ቤተክርስቲያን ምዕመናን እንዲረጋጉ መልእክት ተላልፈዋል።
If your investment properties make you less than 5K monthly passive income, listen up. My company will help you set up a completely.
Okay, I'll come back to that one. So that's the challenge presented to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Those priests mentioned on the name Abbas Habros and others, those you see placed, the media placed X mark in opposition to their movement. Those individuals are challenging the status quo, demanding, the teaching of their believers, their followers in native language and equal right for the priests. So it's a very serious news circulating on social media today as a breaking news. And we don't know in which way this conflict will lead. So the Ethiopian Orthodox Church head call on those senior officials at home and around the world to come to the conference to deal with this serious matter, this coup in the Orthodox Church, or this split, or this challenge to the status quo. So we're gonna follow it, and we will see how they're gonna deal with it, and how they can allow those individuals to come to the Orthodox Church and give the freedom they are looking for, or how the split church, the split leadership in Orthodox Church will go forward in the future. So that's a very serious news for today. Very challenging, and those individuals are complaining, equal status quo in Orthodox Church, equal treatment in appointment, and also the issue of native teaching the religion in native language. So that's a very serious one, and we have to pay attention to this serious matter in coming days, and how this called conference will deal with it. Also, the Orthodox Abuna Matthias call on the government to control or to put pressure on those individuals and control the matter, and also on the believers to be patient and be aware of this serious matter. Okay, let's continue with the Prime Minister, confirming the readiness of Ethiopian Air Force, Ethiopian military for the next conflict. He signed a peace deal with the Tigray region, and I don't know why this is necessary again to spend the country's limited resources on military hardware and military personnel when the country is facing so many challenges. So let's listen to this one, and I will have some other news to read. Thank you again. Let's listen this also in Amharic.
በኢትዮጵያ እየተገነባ መሆኑን የኢፌዴሪ ጠቅላይ ሚኒስትርና የጦር ኃይሎች ጠቅላይ አዛዥ ጠቅላይ ሚኒስትር ዶክተር አብይ አህመድ የተናገሩት ይመለከታል። ጠቅላይ ሚኒስትር አብይ አህመድ በአዋሽ አርባ ውጊያ ቴክኒክ ትምህርት ቤት በመገኘት በአየር ኃይልና በሜካናይዝድ ተቀናጅቶ የተካሄደውን የጥምር ጦር ወታደራዊ ትርኢት ተመልክተዋል። እንዲሁም በቢሾፍቱ አየር ኃይል ዋና መምሪያ ተገኝተውም በዝግጁነት ላይ የሚደረጉትን ማሻሻያዎች እንደጎበኙ ከጠቅላይ ሚኒስትር ጽሕፈት ቤት ያገኘነው መረጃ ያመለክታል። በጉብኝቱ ላይ ጠቅላይ ሚኒስትር አብይ አህመድን ጨምሮ የመከላከያ ሰራዊት ኤታማዦር ሹም ፊልድ ማርሻል ብርሃኑ ጁላ፣ ምክትል ኤታማዦር ሹም ጀነራል አበባው ታደሰ፣ የአየር ኃይል አዛዥ ጀነራል ይልማ መርዳሳ፣ የፌዴራል ፖሊስ ኮሚሽን ኮሚሽነር ጀነራል ደመላሽ ገብረ ሚካኤል እና ሌሎችም የመከላከያ ከፍተኛ አዛዦችና መኮንኖች ተገኝተዋል።
Okay, I will come back to the next video, which is a tragedy in California. That's a very serious one too. So I don't know if you remember when before the war began in Tigray, and the prime minister and his senior officials, checking the military, including the president of Ethiopia, went to the Air Force in Bishoftu and checked the readiness of the Air Force. Now is the same thing happening. The prime minister with his senior officials, Field Marshal Branu Jula, the army chief, and the head of the federal police, and the vice head of the military. All this, visiting, confirming the readiness of the Ethiopian Air Force and other military personnel, plus the military hardware, the tanks. We don't need this at this time, but the prime minister is always try to settle all the conflict through the military means. So I don't know. We are not aware of any conflict Ethiopia is having with the neighboring countries. No conflict. The only conflict we have right now is the conflict with OLA, Oromo Liberation Army. So this preparation and this visiting of the military hardware and the Air Force, is it for OLA? Possibly that's the only reason. So it's when the country is facing multiple problems, we don't need to spend. We don't need to spend on the military at this moment. We lost a lot of military personnel, a lot of tanks and other weapons in the 2-year war. So we don't need another waste of money and boasting of this prime minister and his high-level officials visiting and getting ready for another war. So, but the international community, the United States and others, should be aware of this, the readiness of this prime minister for another bloody war in that country. So we'll continue and we'll watch it, and we call upon prime minister to stop boasting about the military force and to handle the conflict, especially the conflict with his own citizens, to sit down at the table and settle the issue peacefully. That's better. Let's continue with reading. The first one is, let's start with the good news. This is UK, United Kingdom, providing aid to the war-impacted areas. It says UK announced 16.6 million euro to support drought conflict-affected Ethiopia, calls on international community not to lose focus on deteriorating humanitarian crisis in Ethiopia. I don't know, Abiy Ahmed, the Prime Minister, believe in this deteriorating humanitarian crisis in Ethiopia. They are talking about exporting wheat to international community. They are not believing, they are not accepting the reality they are facing the country. They are boasting, exporting wheat and others to the global community. So let's read. Andrew Michel, UK's Minister for Development, has on 20 January announced 16.6 million in humanitarian aid to support more than 600,000 Ethiopians living in a region of rising insecurity within Ethiopia. The UK also called on the international community not to lose focus on the deteriorating humanitarian crisis in Ethiopia. The 11.6 million euro contribution will be to the Productive Safety Net Program, PSNP, and will address this humanitarian crisis by delivering aid to those most in need across Ethiopia, including Oromia, Tigray, Amara, and Afar and Harari regions by reaching around 250,000 people living in extreme poverty with food and livelihood security. The remaining 5 million euro will be channeled through the World Food Programme (WFP) to help treat almost 23,000 pregnant and lactating women suffering from moderate acute malnutrition and provide better infrastructure for feeding programs for 42,000 school pupils in 75 schools, according to official statement on the announcement of the funding. With nearly 30 million people across Ethiopia facing severe hardships, this support from the United Kingdom comes at a critical moment. Our life-saving aid will reach hundreds of thousands of people, over half of which are women and children who are bearing the brunt of the country's worsening crisis, Andrew Mitchell said. In northern and western regions alone, an estimated 22 million people are experiencing devastating food insecurity due to drought, conflict, and economic pressures, the UK said. In Tigray, humanitarian access has improved since the signing of a peace agreement in November. However, huge number of people still have limited access to essential supplies and basic service, including food, fuel, and health care. Violence and insecurity continue to rise elsewhere in Ethiopia, including in the Oromia region. With the security situation deteriorating, significant number of civilians have been displaced from their homes, with many beyond the reach of aid agencies, lacking access to essential services such as electricity, a mobile network, health facilities, and banks. The latest funding by the UK brings the total humanitarian funding it dispersed for Ethiopia for this fiscal year to 49.2 million euro, the statement said, adding that during the last 17 years, the United Kingdom has provided 650,000 million euro to the PSNP alone. Credit at this standard. So thank you for the United Kingdom for recognizing the situation we are having in Oromia, the challenge we are having. So the international community paying attention what is happening in Oromia, another bloody war. The Prime Minister refused to settle through a peaceful means. Now all the resources, all the military, the financial, the humanitarian resources directed to Oromia region to create more bloodshed, or under the pretext of eliminating OLA or Onek Shani, according to their definition. So that is the situation, and he is determined. He is determined to continue the war, despite all challenges the country is facing. He only care about his power. That's the only thing. He's killing people, nothing else, for his pride and power, nothing else, you know. Okay, this one is this also another from Addis Standard. Ethiopia food, fuel, finance crisis leaves older people reeling on brinks of survival. This is according to the new survey. So this is a survey conducted on seniors or older people. Let me read it very quickly. A new study by Help Age International looking at the impact of the global food, fuel, and finance crisis in 10 different countries, including Ethiopia, revealed that 87% of older people surveyed reported that both the diversity and the quantity of food available to them and their households had declined due to the food, fuel, and finance crisis Ethiopia is facing today. These ongoing crises have worsened poverty and further eroded people's livelihoods. Older people can no longer afford enough food and basic necessities and are on the brink of survival, Help Age International said. According to the survey, older people are not eating adequate quantities of food. 92% of older women, as compared to 43% of older men, had poor consumption scores, which indicate that they are in need of urgent intervention to improve their food security and nutrition status. Average household incomes are decreasing, while food and fuel prices are skyrocketing. Most households are coping by eating cheaper food. 100% of the survey participants, reducing the number of meals per day, 97%, and reducing the amount they eat per meal, 97%. This is having detrimental effects on older people's nutritional and health status, making them far less resilient to future shocks. A surge in energy costs has forced older people to use cheaper energy sources and limit the number of times they cook their meals. I paid my whole pension this month for my electric bill. I used to pay 600 birr, approximately 11 US dollar. Now I pay 1200 birr, approximately 22 US dollar. Survey participants said. Almost double, from 600 to 1200 Ethiopian birr. Older people's livelihoods are also severely impacted as they have very little saving to draw upon and limited access to social protection. Only 7.3% of older people in Ethiopia receive a pension, of which only 10% are women. The impact of the crisis on older people's livelihoods is aggravated by the fact that most of them lack adequate savings, access to credit, and social protection. Access to low-cost credit could substantially enhance older people's coping mechanisms, but formal financial institutions are reluctant to provide loans as they lack access for collateral. HelpAge said, quoting a survey participant who said, neither banks nor microfinance institutions take older people as credit worthy. That's true in Ethiopia. In a rapid needs assessment conducted by HelpAge International among older people in Borana region, 71% of respondents indicated that their businesses and livelihoods have been negatively affected by the COVID pandemic, and 60% of all respondents said that accessing food was their main priority. Another study conducted in East Gojam district, northwest Ethiopia, revealed that over 60% of 2,100 interviewed households were food insecure, and the COVID-19 climate, agroecological conditions, and price inflation were the key drivers. Among the major factors driving Ethiopia's food, fuel, finance crisis include the prolonged drought and the economic insecurity, the impact of COVID-19, and the armed conflict in northern Ethiopia, as well as the Russian-Ukraine war, the survey said. To ease the hardships faced by older people in Ethiopia, HelpAge recommended urgent action by the Ethiopian government, including subsidizing essential goods such as edible oil, wheat, flour, and sugar, continued fertilizer subsidies to farmers to improve their productive capacity, provide better access to social protection, which can be a safety net for older people to meet their most immediate needs, and urgently work toward a peaceful settlement in the conflict affected areas. Yes, I agree. Concerned citizens media agree with this recommendation. I don't know if the Prime Minister is listening to this, HelpAge survey, the challenge the older people facing in that country. This is one survey focused on older people, and they are facing a very serious challenge. What the Prime Minister is doing, spending money on the military and modernizing the military at this time. So many problems can be known about Ethiopia if further research is conducted. What about children? How the children are coping? What about those university graduates, those who are still in university? What they thinking? How they coping? The challenge Ethiopia is facing, and what about the others? So more survey is needed for that country to just really understand the reality on the ground. In general, we know high unemployment, high inflation. People are challenged, high unemployment and high inflation plus other internal conflict. So the Ethiopia needs is a different leadership, really. Concerned citizens media is calling upon or the Prime Minister to give the opportunity for others to lead instead of continue spending money on the military and begging money from United Arab Emirates or Turkey to spend on the military and also to continue, his grab on power, not to facilitate the living standards of the citizens. So that's the challenge we're facing. That is the challenge we're facing. So we appreciate the survey for giving us a little bit light how the older people are suffering. This is from the last one for today. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken call with Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. This was done on a Saturday. So let's see what's saying. The blow is attributable to spokesperson Ned Price. Secretary of State Antony J. Blinken spoke on Saturday with Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed regarding the significant progress to date on implementation of the November 2nd cessation of hostilities agreement, including the ongoing withdrawal of Eritrean troops from northern Ethiopia. The Secretary welcomed this development, noting that it was key to securing a sustainable peace in northern Ethiopia and urged access for international human rights monitors. Good. I don't know Abiy Ahmed if he allow international monitors because they don't want to be accounted for. We'll see. The Secretary affirmed to the Prime Minister the commitment of the United States to support the African Union-led peace process in northern Ethiopia. The two also discussed the need to bring an end to ongoing instability in the Oromia region. So this is the situation we are facing in Oromia region now is openly mentioned by the leaders, by UK, as I said on that statement, as I read on that statement, and also by Secretary of State, openly demanding an end to the hostilities in Oromia region. So I don't know if the Prime Minister is listening or learning from previous mistake, from the previous bloodshed, which took the lives of almost more than 1 million Ethiopians. But as I show you from the video, he is not learning. He is preparing for another bloodshed because no accountability for past war. So who cares? He will continue his bloody war on Oromos, on Oromia region. So it's already very intensive military operation happening in Oromia region under the name of eliminating Onag Shane, despite the call for peaceful resolution. So this Prime Minister is not listening, and he's not learning from past mistakes. So we'll see. Thank you. Let's continue with the tragedy in California. As in Chinese New Year on Saturday, an individual killed 10 and injured 10 people. Finally, also he killed himself, I think. So that's a very tragic incident. Keep happening in the United States. Let's listen to this one. Continue with another video. Thank you again.
We're still in the process of identifying all the victims. We will have that information as the days go on.
Have you contacted next of kin yet, sir?
I heard something on my right ear that sounded like the ages of the victims. The ages of the victims that we dealt with here in Monterey Park, I don't have the specific ages because they have not been identified, but they're not in their 20s or 30s. They seem to be probably, I would say, in their 50s, 60s, and maybe some even beyond there. So, and again, give me a second. Anyways, yes, ma'am?
Have the next of kin for the victims been contacted yet, sir?
We're still in the process of doing that.
And you got any criminal history of the suspect? Did he have any restraining orders? Was there history of any sort of criminal activity or disagreement prior to this?
That's something we're still looking at. We're looking at all criminal history, mental health history, and those are all things that detectives will take a very hard, long look at and see if it impacted what occurred here, the motive, and that's part of the learning lessons and sharing them with our partners and seeing if there's any gaps that were there that we may have missed.
You said there was one shot heard, but there were 2 bullet holes pictured in the window. Did officers return fire?
To my knowledge, there was no officer or deputy involved shooting at the scene.
Sheriff, was there anything else in the van itself that you found beyond the handgun, like any ammunition, something like that? And do you know what the city of residence is? This suspect?
Yes to all the above, but it's none of those I can get into at this point. We have detectives all over the region continuously working very hard to answer a lot of the very good questions you're asking regarding motive and all these other things. And the timing isn't right for me to put that out. We will, but give us several more hours. We're taking this one step at a time. I didn't hear the first part of that, but the suspect responsible for this tragedy is no longer with us. That was the person that is deceased now, and you're asking me if we feel we're safe. He's the one responsible for this. He is no longer a threat.
Okay, one more.
The Lunar New Year starts today, ushering in the Year of the Rabbit. People gather
Year
in
of
different places
Rabbit,
to welcome
Chinese
the
New Year.
The rabbit is one of 12 characters in the Chinese zodiac. It symbolizes longevity, prosperity, peace, and good luck. As is tradition, China's annual Spring Festival TV Gala, hosted by the China Media Group, opened at 8 p.m. local time on the eve of the Chinese Lunar New Year of the Rabbit. It's the most watched annual gala with 40 heartfelt programs presented in a highly quality cultural feast that highlights the beauty of China in a magnificent context for global audiences. Here are some of the highlights.
Okay, so these are the videos I selected for you for today's update. Thank you again for being with me. Let me finish today's presentation by saying, by calling on United Kingdom, United States, European Union, United Nations, African Union to put more pressure on the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed, to stop the aggressive military operation he is conducting against the Oromos. and forcing him to settle this issue in the same manner he settled with TPLF, come to the table before further bloodshed uh, continue. So we call upon the international community. They are talking, which is a good thing now. They are talking about the situation in Oromia openly. Before they didn't talk, maybe behind the door, we don't know. So now they are start talking. As I read from Secretary Blinken call with Prime Minister Abiy, they mentioned the situation in Oromia must be settled peacefully. So it's a very serious one, very serious one. The UK also mentioned, so the European Union, further European Union and African Union end their silence. The United Nations also, they should call the meeting the same way they did in Tigray case, even though they didn't have any resolution because of Russia and China. But still, they should bring the situation Oromos are facing in Oromia into the United Nations, into European Union. This is a very serious one. It's more than the Tigray war. If it intensifies, it can change the landscape of that country, the politics of that country. So they should deal with it. They should raise it very seriously. Instability in Oromia is a very serious one, very serious one, and it's very close to the capital city too. So they should increase their voice. They are raising it. It's not enough, but they should talk about very seriously before further bloodshed is shed in Oromia region. The other one is we are watching the split the Orthodox church is facing, and we'll see what the conference, Abu Matthias, the head of the Orthodox Church, called. We'll see what's going to happen on their conference. How they're going to deal with this? They already appointed 26 new Orthodox Church heads for different regions of Oromia and other areas. So how they going to deal with it? How they going to settle this split, this coup? We are watching it. So the Ethiopia is in a very tough, very challenging situation, and inflation is high, and the living standard of the Ethiopians are very tough. Ethiopia, does not have a capacity to continue the war. It's a very critical situation, and we don't want to hear this fake prosperity news about exporting agricultural products. No, they don't even have enough for their people. This is propaganda. The reality is the country is in a very deteriorating economic challenge and health challenge, security plus other high unemployment. So many problems. We Ethiopians need a different kind of leadership to deal with all these kind of problems. We don't need a leader that focus on spending the country's limited resources on the military. We need a leader who can settle the conflict in a peaceful manner and deal with economic challenges Ethiopians are facing. That's all I'm going to say for today. And I express my condolences for those in California lost loved ones in this repeated gun tragedy in the United States. It's a very sad story. That's all I'm going to say for today. Thank you for joining me. I will be back with other news the update. So long, everyone.